Creativity may seem to come more easily to some more than others, but we are all innately creative in some way. If we just give our minds the time and space to think, have the right mindset to embrace our creativity and allow ourselves to think creatively and not beat ourselves up and think, oh, I'm not that creative, but just explore ideas and be willing to make mistakes and just try things out. Even the most creative of us will have these moments when we come against roadblocks. There will be things in our way that create creative block where we just can't come up with ideas. We feel this lack of motivation and nothing we seem to come up with seems to be working out too well. So in today's video, I'm going to talk about how to overcome those roadblocks that get in the way of our creativity and get over that creative block. So let's have a look at 3 ways you can overcome creative block. So in those times when you feel totally stuck, you have some tools that you can use to just push past them and get back to creating. So the first way to overcome creative block is by letting your mind wander. And there are a lot of ways that you can do this. Personally, I find in those moments when I just let go and aren't pressuring myself to be creative and just have no other distractions and just simply allow my mind to do some thinking and wandering, that's when I come up with my best ideas. That's why you hear people say that they come up with their best ideas while they're in the shower or just as they're falling off to sleep, because they're the moments when there aren't any distractions and you're just simply in your mind and you're not putting pressure on yourself to come up with anything either. You're just simply letting your mind be and just letting it wander, letting it go where it wants to go and think about whatever it wants to think about. No pressure, no other distractions, just letting your mind wander. So rather than just waiting for those moments to happen, you can try and create those moments so you can build in those times to actually let your mind wander. Personally, I have found going for walks really great for this because I don't have to think about too much other than, making sure I stop to cross a road and things like that. There's not a lot of things I need to be worrying about, and so I can spend a lot of time in my mind and just thinking, and I don't put any pressure on myself. I don't say, oh, I need to come up with an idea while I'm out walking today. I just simply go for a walk and whatever happens, happens, and often that's when the great ideas happen. And studies even show that by letting your mind wander, you're more likely to come up with creative solutions to solving problems. Just something about letting your brain do its work without trying to force it that really helps you be creative. You're not putting any force, constraints, or pressure on yourself. You're really just letting go. And your mind actually does wander a lot during the day. Those times where you find yourself daydreaming or looking out the window and go, oh, hang on a minute, I'm supposed to be doing this. We do it all the time, but if we can give ourselves big blocks of time and actually work it into our day, more likely it is that we're going to keep generating creative thoughts and ideas. It's important to make it a regular thing, because if you just wait till things get difficult and you're having creative block and think, right, now I need to make sure that I give my mind time to wander and think, then you're still going to, in the back of your mind, be forcing yourself. You're going to feel this pressure of, I really need to come up with an idea. But if you make it a regular thing, then sometimes maybe no great ideas will come, but then other times they will. And so you'll have this constant source of great ideas coming because you're constantly giving yourself that time to think. And the Germans have a lovely saying for this, which I'll put below because I'm not going to attempt to pronounce it and make a mess of it. But it translates to let your soul dangle. This idea of just letting your mind be idle, not having things to do all the time. But it's just like a computer where you're just letting it process things without saying, right, now we've got to do this program and now we've got to work on this project, but just actually letting it process. So what are some ways that you can let your mind wander? As I mentioned, I love to go for walks. It's a really great way to just think about things. Obviously, another way that a lot of people come up with ideas is while having a shower. Now, I know it's not the most environmentally friendly thing to be having super long showers, but a good thing to do is when you have a shower, don't have other distractions, so that even if your shower is short, you're still giving yourself time to just think and process thoughts without trying to constantly multitask and try to do other things during those idle moments. It's the same with other monotonous tasks. Things like doing the washing up or cleaning the house. Anything that, you just basically go on autopilot and start doing without much thought to it. Don't feel the need to constantly fill it with other things. You don't have to constantly be listening to podcasts and reading books and filling the space, watching TV on Netflix or whatever it is that you like to do when you're doing those tasks. Sometimes you also need to turn off all those distractions and just have that silence. Just let your mind do some work. Obviously, it is great sometimes to be doing that multitasking so that you aren't setting aside time just to listen to a podcast, but listening to it while you're doing something else. But make sure that you also give yourself that time to be doing those monotonous things without any distraction, because giving your mind time to process and think is just as important as filling it with new things. Studies have also shown that school children that aren't constantly being pushed to this thing, that thing, after school activities, so many hours of work, then homework. Those that are given extra time actually do better because they're giving themselves time to process and think things through. So they're not just constantly more information, more information, more information. You're actually allowing their minds to process the information and then think about that stuff and how they can apply it in different ways and be more creative. And so it's really important to have just free space. And if you have a little bit of extra time, some other fun ideas are things like having a nice long bath, or if you live near the ocean, sitting on the sand at the beach. Just think about your own lifestyle and location and ways that you can just have some time out to just think. So number 2, the next thing for combating creative block is stop looking at what everyone else is doing. There's a reason why design and art has a process. It's not called copying. There is a much deeper process to it where you have to problem solve, think things through. And so if you're just constantly looking at what other people are doing, in a way you're almost trying to jump ahead, almost scrapbook ideas together. Oh, I'll take a little bit of this person's idea and a bit of that person's idea and just put that together, rather than letting yourself think creatively. Plus, there's what I like to call comparison procrastination, which is where you start looking for inspiration, and before you know it, you've been on Pinterest or Instagram for hours, and you're just basically wasting time because you don't want to actually get on with it, and you're not really sure what to do because you're struggling with creative block. So you're just spending hours and hours whiling away looking at other people's work, and then you start having those thoughts of, oh, maybe I should do something like that. Oh, I like what they've done there. Or you get distracted by things that have completely nothing to do with what you're actually doing. You think, oh, look at that cool ceramic bowl. I should try ceramics. That looks really cool. We've all been there, the whole Pinterest DIY thing. Don't get yourself sucked down those rabbit holes where you just find yourself procrastinating by staring at what everyone else in the world is doing, rather than getting on with your own creative process and creating things for yourself. Remember, you need to follow a design process, and when you go to gather inspiration, set some boundaries so that you don't end up on there for hours and hours looking at things. And if you do come across something that's really interesting but isn't relevant, make sure that you just save it and put it aside, and don't keep searching for more ideas relevant to that and end up down, some completely different direction. Just, click save and then move on and keep doing what you're doing. Stay focused. Finally, number 3 for combating creative block is find your purpose. In those moments when you're feeling detached and lacking motivation, sometimes we're often straying from our purpose. We're wondering, why am I even doing this? What's the point? And you just feel lost. And when you're having those feelings, it's really hard to feel excited and get creative. By going back to your purpose, you can feel re-energized and, feel like I'm doing this for a reason. And then there is deeper meaning to your work. So you'll want to push ahead, and you'll start thinking about how you can serve your purpose in a creative way. It's when you lose sight of your purpose that you find it hard to create. You question what you're doing, and nothing seems right. That's when it's going to be hard to produce anything. So some things to ask yourself when you're feeling like this are things like, who am I doing it for? How does it help, and what does it do? Why do I care about this? And what is the desired outcomes and purpose? Addressing these things and getting clear on your why, you're going to feel more motivated and inspired, and will reinvigorate you. It'll make you feel like you have direction and a reason for doing what you do, and spark that passion for your work again, which is so important. So next time that you're feeling lost, unmotivated, lacking creative drive, and just not knowing what you're doing or why you're even doing it, then I hope that these 3 things can help get you back on the path and reinvigorate your creativity and spark new and exciting ideas for you. And don't forget that if you have a creative business and you want more tips about branding and creativity, be sure to subscribe to this channel, and I'll see you next time.